Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video on the chemical classification of hormones. So in this video we're going to discuss hormones, their chemistry, and look at how we classify them, the different subtypes. But we're going to begin really with just three big classes, the three big classes of hormones. And as we get started, we'll talk about number one. We'll talk about the amino acid hormones, amino acid derivatives, those that are derived from amino acids. We'll get into their chemistry a little bit more. We'll talk about amino acid derivatives. So they are derived from amino acids. We'll talk about the polypeptides, or sometimes just called peptide hormones, sometimes just referred to as peptides. And then we'll talk about the lipid derivatives. And the chemistry of these are basically based on the base chemicals they're made of. So for the most part, we'll talk about some minor exceptions here. Now, what I want to talk about is we're going to get into each one. We'll start with the amino acid derivatives. And as we talk about amino acid derivatives, the amino acids, what I want to talk about with amino acid derivatives is this. First off, what are they made of is amino acids. Well, it is the amino acid, tryptophan, and tyrosine. So tyrosine and tryptophan. These are the two building blocks that are used in the synthesis of these hormones. So they are built off of that. Now, something I want you to know about them is by far, majority of these hormones, we're going to see most of these hormones are going to be hydrophilic. They're going to love water. They're going to be hydrophilic, except we'll talk about an exception as we get into it. But as we talk about it, that means they're going to have a mechanism of action that uses extracellular receptors, so just pay attention to that. That's some things. So the first hormone class we want to talk about, because there are three subclasses, subgroups, that I want to talk about. Three subgroups or subclasses. And our first subgroup is going to be our catecholamines. Catecholamines. And catecholamines, these guys, they are based on basically a benzene ring, and we stick a couple OHs on it, a couple hydroxyl groups, and that's chemically what makes a catecholamine. Stick some amino acid that has a catechol on it, and you have a catecholamine. Okay, so catecholamines are going to be three of those that we're going to discuss. The first one is going to be epinephrine, then norepinephrine, and then dopamine. And these are all catecholamines. Now, a good way to remember, then I'll use a mnemonic, but I have a mnemonic that I use is for the catecholamines is, can elephants never die? Can elephants never die? So we hope that elephants don't, but we know they do because animals. Okay, so anyway, can elephants never die? That is our question here. Can elephants never die? All right, so we're going to use some other mnemonics to help get all the classifications down once I'm done. Our second subgroup are going to be our thyroid hormones. And now these aren't all the hormones released from the thyroid, but these are a group of hormones that we refer to as being the main thyroid hormones, the hormone T3 and the hormone T4. Okay, T3 and T4. Remember, T3 is called triiodothyronine. T4 is tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine. Now, something about these guys that I want to talk about is, first off, this thyroid hormone, these guys are hydrophobic. So, do they love water? No, they don't love water. They do not love water. These are hydrophobic, and that's very important. They are hydrophobic. Now, collectively, these two hormone groups, catecholamines and thyroid hormones, they're both based on tyrosine. They're both going to be based on the amino acid tyrosine. Okay, that's going to be their building blocks. So that's something in common about these guys. Now, the last one, which is a hydrophobic hormone, or hydrophilic hormone, I apologize, is our melatonin. So that means it's going to use second messenger system, and he is the one made by tryptophan. Okay, tryptophan. Now, to remember all of these, I do use the mnemonic, to get all of them, is can elephants nose dive through mud? Can elephants nose dive through mud? For just catecholamines, can elephants never die? You can use these mnemonics to help you guys learn them as you study. All right, this gets us into peptide hormones. Now, when it comes to peptide hormones, you're dealing with a fairly large group. We're dealing with peptides, polypeptides. We're dealing with proteins. So these are proteins, and these guys are, they're going to love water. They're going to love water. They're going to be very hydrophilic. They're going to use extracellular receptors. So they love water. These are long chains of amino acids. And when we look at them, we are going to see in the polypeptides two major groups. There will be two subgroups. And the first subgroup is called the glycoproteins. The glycoproteins. Now, with glycoproteins, they're usually about over 200 amino acids in length. I'm just going to say AA for amino acids in length. They're about over 200 amino acids, so they're pretty big. They usually have a sugar on them. That's what makes the sugars hydroxyl groups are going to make it hydrophilic. It's going to love water. Now, with glycoproteins, there are three that we need to know here, okay? The three we're going to make sure we know. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone. Now, what these guys, to help remember them, I always tell my students, because when I get behind, I want to remind them, don't forget that great teachers finish last. Great teachers will finish last. That'll help you guys get the glycoproteins. The G for glycoproteins, great teachers finish last. TSH, FSH, LH. All right. Now, the next group is a little bit harder to learn. They are the largest group. This is the short polypeptides. Now, this includes an impressive list of hormones. There are 11 that we're going to learn here. So there's 11 of them. Now, they are less than 100 amino acids in length, or less than 200 amino acids in length. I apologize for my writing there. Less than 200 amino acids in length, so a little bit shorter. And we're going to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 of these. We're going to learn 11 of these hormones. And we're going to start off with insulin. Now, I'm going to do this. It might not be the order a lot of books do, but I'm going to do it in a certain order because I have a mnemonic. Then we're going to talk about prolactin, PRL, melanocyte stimulating hormone, MSH, antidiuretic hormone, ADH, growth hormone, GH, calcitonin, CT, releasing the thyroid, but not one of the thyroid hormones, not T3, T4. Oxytocin, I'll abbreviate it OT. Some will say OXT in some books. And then we have our atrial natriuretic peptide and also our brain natriuretic peptide. Remember, natriuretic peptides make you pee sodium. Number 9, we have to write him out, is glucagon. And then adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. And then parathyroid hormone, PTH. Now, a good way to remember this is, the way I have my students memorize it, is I prefer more a great cookie over a green apple, please. So green apples, you might eat a fruit apple. So I prefer more a great cookie over a green apple, please. And that will help you learn the classes of those hormones. Now, the last one that we do, and I'll talk briefly about these guys, are our lipids. Now, lipids, what is very important about lipids is, first off, we know that lipids are hydrophobic. So will they love water? Will they love water? No, they will not love water. They are hydrophobic. They do not love water. Lipids, remember, are hydrophobic. That is a key to its chemistry. Now, what we have in the lipids is two major categories. And our first major category is going to be our steroids. Now, with steroids, one of the big things I always talk about is they're made from cholesterol. Remember, they have 4 fused rings. They express 3 6-carbon rings and 1 5-carbon ring. So they will have 3 6-carbon rings and 1 5-carbon ring, existing as 4 fused rings in a steroid skeleton. They are synthesized from cholesterol. Cholesterol is the steroid building block. That's the building blocks they're going to use. Now, to remember these, there are 6 of them that we're going to learn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to start out with aldosterone. And just remember that aldosterone is what is referred to as a mineral corticoid. A mineral corticoid. We have cortisol, which is what we know as a glucocorticoid. So mineral corticoids can affect minerals like potassium and sodium levels, whereas glucocorticoids will affect glucose levels. 3, calcitriol. Calcitriol. A lot of these will have all or own, except for this one here, the estrogens. Now, there's estrogens because there's estrol, estrone, and estradiol. Then there's progesterone, and testosterone. So remember, most end in own or all. Okay, most end in own or all. Now, a good way to remember this, I always say, so let's say you're working out in the gym and somebody offers you a needle, you should accept. No, don't do that. That is not, that is just a joke. It is a mnemonic to accept steroids. Okay, to accept the steroids is just a joke. It's a mnemonic to help people remember it. This is not life advice. Please do not accept steroids. Okay, now, number two, our second group, these are called eicosanoids. Eicosanoids are based on a group of things called the prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Now, leukotrienes, they get their name. Let me rewrite that because okay, leukocyte, leukotrienes. Now, leukotrienes get their name from, number one, they're produced by white blood cells, and then when you look at them, if you look at their fatty acid tails, you're going to see 1, 2, 3 double bonds on them. Okay, hence triene on a fatty acid tail. Leukotrienes. Now, these are made up of something called arachidonic acid, okay, is what a lot of these guys are made off of, is they're made up of something called arachidonic acid. Okay. Now, the last one is the prostaglandins. We should know that that's involved in, as a local hormone for pain and inflammation. It consists of a 5-membered ring and then 2 fatty acid tails. If we remember that from AP1 about prostaglandins, it has a 5-membered ring with 2 fatty acid tails. The fatty acid, arachidonic acid. Okay, so that is our hormone classifications. Now, the last ones, let's give a mnemonic. Eicosanoid sounds like a band to me, and it's a band who only releases their music as vinyl, so they only release it on vinyl LP. So they only release vinyl. The eicosanoids is LP, leukotrienes, and prostaglandins. So as we step back, just remember you're dealing with amino acid derivatives, which are catecholamines, thyroid hormones, and melatonin. For all of them is, can elephants nosedive through mud? That gets you every one of the amino acid derivatives. Remember, catecholamines, or can elephants never die? When we deal with peptides, you have your glycoproteins and short polypeptides. Remember, glycoproteins, great teachers finish last. TSH, FSH, and LH. Whereas short polypeptides, I prefer more a great cookie over a green apple, please. Insulin, prolactin, and melanocyte-stimulating hormone, ADH, calcitonin, oxytocin, the natriuretic peptides, glucagon, adrenocorticotropic hormone, parathyroid hormone. These are all types of short polypeptides. And then our lipids are steroids and eicosanoids. Remember, steroids accept aldosterone, cortisol, calcitriol, estrogens, progesterone, testosterone. The eicosanoids are leukotrienes and prostaglandins. And I really hope it helps just to break it down like this and do a video in this kind of format where we just classify things and help you guys understand it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you find these kind of videos helpful. Let me know what you would like to see me do future videos. And as always, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you haven't, please subscribe. But as always, thank you for watching.